I always advise candidates to interview with confidence in job interviews. However, there are some boundaries you must be aware of. The first example, the interview question of tell me about the time when you saw a peer was struggling and decided to step in and help. Some candidates choose to go on a personal level, showing how they helped one of their colleagues struggle with addiction. Could be alcohol, could be any type of addiction, but the story itself, it's personal, it's too personal, and will not be interpreted as too favorable to your performance in a job interview. A superior approach would be to focus still on a situation where you genuinely helped a colleague who was struggling, but in a business context. So if you could prove that your expertise, your subject matter expertise, helped your colleague to reach the business goal, that would be a far superior approach. The second example I wanted to share here would be a interview question that's framed a little bit counterintuitively, such as, have you had any shortcomings as of recently? Most candidates would rather reactively think of, hey, what's a shortcoming I can talk about, which I had recently? And this could be anything from a divorce to a death and this sort of personal experiences. When in fact the superior approach would be to read a little bit between the lines of the question, shortcomings means failures. And think in a business context, that of a job interview, how would you sell yourself based on some shortcomings? And oftentimes you do this with some great learnings. So if you'd reword that interview question to what's the best failure story you can share for the interview, well, your answer will be a superior one when compared to sharing a personal story which would not sell you at all. The third example, many of the people I work with are also small business owners. Doing this for over 7 years now and advising people with their job interviews, best successes I've had were with candidates who put their small business second during a job interview. So in other words, when introducing yourself, you should not spend 50% of the time talking about your small business. Also, using your main stories. You should understand that your best predictors of success interviewing with a major corporation come from your corporate experience rather than from your small business experiences. Exceptions apply, but again, in my experience, people who put their small business experience second have had best interview outcomes. The fourth example I wanted to share with you here would be talking about extracurricular activities in general. The interview question, what are some passions you have outside work? And there's a good number of candidates who have a tendency to share a passion that's kind of a luxury to most people. Maybe you're into sailing, maybe you're into sports car and these sort of things. Now, if you're interviewing with a VP, I don't suspect you'll have any problems with this, but interviewing with someone else, they may not come across as you would expect them to. So maybe something for you to reconsider of how you share your passions. You could easily choose something that's, more linked to your subject area of expertise, for instance, something that's not as exotic as these things. And the last example I wanted to share with you would be the interview question of what's your weakness. Okay, it's a rather uncomfortable interview question, but instead of mentioning, a weakness such as you cannot pass interviews, which is totally off topic and doesn't relate with your performance, doesn't help your candidate brand in a job interview, you'd rather use public speaking, which if you pitch well, it would help you a lot better when compared to picking a too dangerous one or an inappropriate one altogether, such as interviewing. Right, so I hope you found this useful and thank you very much for watching.